Top of the morning to you once again.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio. You are listening to Lagoon Radio. Listening to Lagoon Radio.
Top of the morning to you once again. Welcome back to another beautiful and exciting episode of the newspaper review here on Lagoon Radio. Just in case you're just joining us, you're highly welcome. This is your number one online radio station in Nigeria, proudly sponsored and powered by the Diocese of Lagos Anglican Communion. It's still Lagoon Radio once again. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Instagram, pending the time it's going to be released and open to us all again, on Instagram and Twitter at Lagoon Radio Nigeria. Yes, don't forget to also download our app on your Google Play Store or your Apple Store, depending on the device that you are using. And feel free to also subscribe to our news blog, Lagoon.news, and subscribe to our new channel, LagoonTV. Yes, today I have with me Abigail Inena Umba, and we're going to be talking together. My name is Olumakaiye, and welcome again to today's edition of the newspaper review. It's still the 27th day in the month of July 2021, and without further ado, we'll be kickstarting with our first newspaper for today, which is the People's Daily's newspaper. With the major headline, How Fulani Elder Aided the Escape of Baptist School Students, which can be found more on page 5 of the newspaper. We can also see over 1 million Nigerians register within 4 weeks. That is the voters registration. How many of you have started voting? How many of you have your voters card already? You know, everybody's encouraged to vote, whether primary or major elections. So what do you think, Abigail?
It's the fact that they recently had the local government election, and some people did not know until that day.
Exactly.
So
yesterday I was passing a particular place, and I was wondering, there's no bus, what's going on? And they said there are votes. I said,
okay. Because honestly, I was on the phone with someone. I was supposed to go out that Saturday, the Friday or so. So I was on the phone with someone. I'm just like, hey, there's no movement tomorrow because of. I'm like, how, where, but people need to register. We have the population of Nigeria compared to 1 million people alone who have registered that's not encouraging at all. So please, if you haven't registered, there's a pre-registration online. Just visit the INEC website to register, because it's not by 2023 you start shouting that they have thief election, they have thief ballots. Like the person you vote, when you don't do the necessary things, there's no point for you to complain. So you need to actually be a part of the change that you're expecting to see. That's just it. Are you registered?
Yes. More of this news story can be found on page 3 of the People's Daily's newspaper. We can also see IPOB saying why we didn't produce Kano in court, says federal government. This can also be found on page 3 of the People's Daily's newspaper. Malam Wada Mahida, founding chairman board of the People's Media Limited, between 1950 and 2020. Is that what?
That's a tribute.
Yes.
A
tribute to one of the board members of People's Media Limited. I just wish them rest in peace.
Continue to. He died since 2020.
Is that what?
I said he should continue to rest in peace. He died
exactly.
since 2020.
2020, so it's like a remembrance. Below the newspaper, we also have PDP condemns alleged arm twisting of its government to join APC. This can also be found on page 5 of the People's Daily's newspaper. And on page 2, we can see that we have Buhari signs 982 billion naira 2021 supplementary budget for the year. That is an additional budget for the year, and we are approaching August, and we have a supplementary budget of this huge amount. That is something to be added to the original budget that was already created. What do you think?
Which they still don't have money for.
Exactly, and we are still in debt.
We just still don't have money to fund. So yeah, we're all here.
Well, read up more of these conversations on page 2 of the People's Daily newspaper. And page 4, we can see that Adamara records 774 LGBV cases, convicts 297. And also on page 7, we can see that police debunk reports on arrest of DPO over kidnapping. Whether all of these stories are true or false, you can read up more on page 7 of the People's Daily newspaper. I think.
And
that
moving
is
on to the
that.
Blueprint newspaper, at the top of the paper, you can see call air to unlock economic potentials of Cross River State. Ayade is saying that can be found on page 22 of the Blueprint newspaper. Why Kanu could not appear in court, federal government. The rider under that says producer leader on October adjourned date. IPOB is an MRA for DSS over selected media accreditation. That can be found on page 8. All of this on IPOB and Kanu can be found on page 6. So so for the court hearing that's supposed to happen in October as adjourned, the federal government have selected a few media houses that will have access to the court to to come in. And I think just about 2 of those media houses have the authorization to video what is happening. And I'm like, really?
What's the
Really? Okay. Anyway, 2 suspected armed robbers shot arrested in Ogun State. That can be found on page 9. GT Bank embraces post-pandemic disruption. BU's its own fintech. Okay, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is actually going to be a great employment opportunities for developers. And that can be found on page 22. As El Rufai suspends school resumption in Kaduna, K-pop, another 80-year-old first-class monarch adopted, and right under that, medical doctor's wife, 1 other kidnapped in Benue State. Federal government task AIGs to deal with criminal elements. All of those can be found on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. And then PDP governors insist on e-transmission of election results. That can be found on page 16. Buhari signs 982 billion naira 2021 supplementary budget. That can be found on page 5. Why Nigerian judiciary must embrace technology, Osibanjo is saying on page 9 of the Blueprint. Buhari off to London for a Global Education Summit medical checkup. That can also be found page 18. And NDDC don't write Buhari fault or on nation's oil-bearing claims. This can be found on page 14 of the Blueprint newspaper. This medical checkup that Ogabubu is going for. Where is meet and break? I don't know.
We don't even know when he's going to come back.
Well, he will come back, but he will go again.
It's as well.
It's as well. He needs to be in good health anyway. So yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next newspaper, National Economy. National Economy. And the front lines for National Economy says Nigerian risks small divestment by international oil firms. And under it, the writer says, as cases of oil theft, vandalism, and sabotage escalate. So it happens that we're having more cases on oil theft, vandalism, and sabotage of all of these oil firms, international oil firms. So it's going to probe a risk to our divestment in the nation. We also have Pencom commences payments of 2.5% pension differentials to retirees. It's a long and lengthy read, but you can catch up with the rest of the conversation and news story on page 4 of National Economy newspaper. This newspaper looks weird, strange.
He has so many details in front.
We can also find out on that, beneath the very last headline on the newspaper, NCC partners judiciary to tackle telecom service challenges. That is, they're trying to help Telcom work better in terms of their challenges. But I feel like this NCC partner, that is Nigerian Communication Commissions, have they finished working on the issue that Nigeria has on the whole, they actually want to now diversify into various telecom providers?
what when they say they partner judiciary means they are partnering with the lawmakers, right? Yes, to tackle telecom service challenges. In what sense exactly? Is this still part of them trying to monitor
Exactly,
everybody's?
monitor.
I don't know about that, but yeah, you can find out more of that when you read the National Economy newspaper.
NACOM approves new board for Nikon Insurance, and you can read up more of this on page 5 of the National Economy newspaper. And by the right, we have the leader to watch for their newspaper, which is Rachel Asonibare, an experienced professional at the Standard Chartered Bank. So you can read up more on her profile, and I think that'll be all for that for this newspaper.
Yes, and then we move on very quickly to the Nigerian Tribune. Buhari signs 982.7 billion supplementary budget head for London for education summits and medicals.
The budgets that you oh
Oh
my god.
This can be found on page 5. We have been budgeting things forever. We have padded the budget. We have adjusted the budget.
So
we have
this is travel
supplemented.
budget.
We have supplemented the budget. We have budgeted a lot of things. Anyways, without new constitution, failed leaders will emerge again in 2023. Afe Babalola is coming out to say that in page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune, and yes, this is a fact, but they're already reviewing the constitution, but it's the same people that we want to push out that are actually reviewing
the constitution again.
You get it? Get it? Okay. PDP governors meet in Bauchi, insist on electronic transmission of results, kick against idea of direct primaries for all political parties. That can be found on page 22. And hoodlums kill one, injure others in attack on Ibadan Mall. That can be found on page 27. And one hoodlums. Kaduna suspends school resumption indefinitely. 4 more Baptist students freed. The way they are freeing these children, God have mercy on us. But yes, they should suspend school. I think this is this is somehow the end point of what they are doing. They don't want children to be educated, directly or indirectly, because you keep attacking students, you keep attacking schools. What do you expect the outcome to be, So when the government closes schools and all of that, the bandits are actually winning. That can be found on page 5 anyway of the Nigerian Tribune. And Ogoni youth block East-West Road in mother of all protests against neglect by federal government. That can be found on page 26. Supporters Oba's strong Cotonou court as Igboho's trial holds behind closed doors. Gani Adams rallies Benin monarchs. Fenifere Louds Olubadan and Oni. That can all be found on page 2. Why are they having a closed court hearing for these cases? People want to know. This is why the youth or their supporters will end up being agitated and will start protesting and destroying things because they want to be carried along. If at the end of the day, the court is going to say send them to prison, people want to be carried along through that process so that they know it's free and fair, not a situation where we don't know what happened in court and then you're just going to come out with one result that they say sentence him to death. People don't want that. Okay, so I don't know why they're having closed doors. Who is going to come there and kidnap them anyway?
I even read in the news this morning that he has been transferred to another facility for medical care. So all of this behind closed doors poses shady events and agenda.
Anyway, still on the Nigerian Tribune, 2 killed as bandits adopt 2 soldiers, traditional ruler, doctor's wife, over 60 passengers in Borno, Kaduna, Sokoto, and Benue State, respectively. All of this can be found on page 26. And 124 civil society group threatening nationwide protests over amended Electoral Act. I don't even understand. I don't even want to get into this whole amendment thing. Anyway, that can be found on page 29. 48 Yoruba Nation agitators docked over alleged murder and unlawful assembly. Did you hear? What's her name now? The young lady who was murdered during the Yoruba Nation rally. They pinned her mother on one of the agitators that were arrested. Just like that.
As if the death was not enough.
Just like that. So somebody who came out to protest has now been accused of actually killing the girl. Did the person have a gun? just like that. Anyway, tension in Anambra, commercial activities grounded in Abuja over Nnamdi Kanu's trial. And the rider under that, DSS failed to produce him in court. Trial adjourned until October 21st. And Kingsmen raised the alarm over his health. IPOB seeks access to him. Page 3. All of this on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Okay, we are running close to the end of the day. So with that, I hope I know you can take
End of the day. Let's just take one more newspaper and then we call it a day. Let's Daily Trust, I think, has.
Okay, we're moving on to Daily Trust newspaper. And the major headline here says secession as Kano to remain in DSS custody as Igbo's fate hangs. Writer under that says IPOB leader absent as court adjourns to 21st of October, like area read. Economic activities disrupted in Southeast. Afenifere backs Igbo, criticizes the federal government. So many things going on concerning Igbo's case, and we'll get to you on more of the unfolding events. You can also see that police probe Kano and anti-graft boss as assembly recommends sack. That can be found on page 16 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And on page 18, we can see that pension assets now to 12.66 trillion naira, says Pencom. 3 more students escaped from bandits' den in Kaduna State. This can be found on page 18 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And beneath the paper, clearly shown that PDP governors asked National Assembly to entrench e-transmission of election results, which has been said over time in previous newspapers and can be found on page 19 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Many killed as bandits attack Zamfara communities. May God continue to protect and help us. Read up more of this on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And we've read on the supplementary budget still recurring on the Daily Trust newspaper. Moves to recharge shrinking lake charge begin. Read up more of these on page 8 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And I would say that is it.
Yes, that's the much that we can take today
newspaper review.
on the newspaper review. Coming up next is real estate and radio show. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and don't forget to also download our app from Google or Apple Store. Until we come your way again, stay connected. Don't go anywhere. We have more music. We have more entertainment just for you. Enjoy your morning.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio.